The county council is made up of 7 elected representatives representing 7 geographical areas of the county. And the county council is responsible for approving the budget and giving the executive branch, my administration authority to implement the programs and make sure they're done according to the law and done in the way that best provides services to the residents.
Okay, you just mentioned the word budget, okay? Right now, this week, they start working on the budget, and they said there's a shortfall of about $40-some million. The question I have as a person that's, I know a little bit about government. I work in the city, and, in politics in general. The question that popped up in people's mind, we got so much money that came in from the President Biden's program where they would write extra money to the states and to the counties, and they got millions of dollars. Has all that money been spent? Can that money be used for budget crisis?
So with the American Rescue Plan Act funds, we used about half of those funds to replace revenue that was lost from lost sales taxes. We used about $80 million and put it back into reserve. And so when you hear about lost revenue or you hear about a budget shortfall, what the council and the budget chair or the budget director are talking about is that we have $40 million more of expenses this year than we have revenues. We don't have a $40 million debt that the county owes other people, but we have a shortfall, and we're spending more money next year than we're taking in. And we've been doing that for about 10 years, spending more money than we bring in. After the recession of 2008, we really never did recover on the revenue side. And so we've been spending our reserves. Now, luckily, we've got about $100 million worth of reserves, so we have, we're not going to run out of money in the next couple of years. But this trend of spending more than you bring in is something that we have to take notice of, because we can't live on our reserves forever, and we need to balance the budget to the point where we're no longer depending on reserves. And we're going to be talking a lot about that over the next year.
And then on top of that, we're in a unique, but unfortunately, football. I am a football fan. That St. Louis Rams stolen from us by the former owner, I should say, the quarter of the country, and he ended up paying well over $500 million in a lawsuit. And after the lawyers got their share of the pie, there's over $500 million. Just about $500 million left in a fund that has to be divided in 3 ways. Right here, the zone when the Rams play football at, then St. Louis County, St. Louis City divides that money. So how's that process going on? And then that money be used to help us in the budget crisis.
So the process for the Rams settlement first is to recognize that St. Louis City and St. Louis County and the Regional Sports Authority have been working together for about 5 years to recover a settlement from Stan Kroenke and the Rams owners who took the Rams from St. Louis to Los Angeles. In doing so, as soon as the Rams stepped off the plane into a larger media market, the Rams is worth, $1 billion more than they were in St. Louis. And that was a business decision that they made to move there. But we believe that, and we always have believed, that was unfair to the city of St. Louis because of the investment we made and the deal we made with them a long time ago. That was settled in court. We reached a settlement agreement, and the agreement was a little less than $1 billion was paid to the St. Louis plaintiffs, the St. Louis City, St. Louis County, and the Regional Sports Authority. And after we've paid our expenses and attorney's fees, there's a little over $500 million to divide between the three plaintiffs, the city and the county and the Regional Sports Authority. We've been talking over the past few months about the best way to divide those funds and the best way to put those funds to work for our region. And over the past 3 months, if interest rates have really started to spike, we've been talking about how to invest those funds and to get a higher rate of return than they were getting before interest rates began to increase. And that's what we're going to do. This week, the Regional Sports Authority voted to participate in a higher interest-bearing account, and that allowed us to move forward with that plan. We'll continue to work on this. I expect over the next couple of months we'll come to a final decision on how to divide those funds, and St. Louis County will have another source of revenue to either help shore up the budget or to put to work to provide better services to folks in St. Louis County, and also to see if we can work on some projects that will really make a big difference in the lives of St. Louis County residents.
Now, also, how is that commission laid up? How many? I think initially, the governor had so many employees, the county executive had so many employees, and so did the mayor. What is the composition of that commission?
Well, I have 3,800 employees in St. Louis County. I have about 36 or 7 who are appointed directly by me and perform various services and tasks in St. Louis County. There was an amendment to the charter that changed the way those folks were recorded in the budget process, but it really didn't change their duties or responsibilities.
Okay, so I mean, so the members on the committee or commission, I should say, of the stadium authority, how many of those people that appointed were appointed by you, and how many appointed by the mayor?
So the Regional Sports Authority, there are 3 members appointed by me, and there are 3 members appointed by the mayor of the city of St. Louis. There are 5 members appointed by the governor. But I think everyone is working together to do what's best for the stadium and to advocate to bring a more activities and more sporting competition to the Dome and to the St. Louis region.
Now, so another question that off my list is, how do you and Mayor Jones get along? What kind of relationship do you guys have? Sometimes in the St. Louis County, the mayor and the county executive have not always been on the same page. How's that working out?
Well, Tashar and I are friends. I mean, we're both state representatives, and our time didn't overlap perfectly, but we knew each other, and I think we both have a lot of respect for each other, and have stayed in touch. Since she's been elected mayor and I've been elected county executive, we talk on a regular basis almost every week, and our staff generally are working together on something and talking every day. It's really important for the city of St. Louis and St. Louis County to work together. It's important for the region because there's so many issues that affect us that don't understand or respect the city boundary and the county boundaries. For example, public health during the pandemic, we worked very closely in the public health response to COVID. We worked very closely on the humanitarian relief and the public health response, and we continue to work together on some of the other public health challenges that we all face. And we've always worked together on economic development. We have a formalized relationship called the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership, where the mayor appoints members to this board and I appoint members to the board, and they work to bring new businesses and new jobs to St. Louis County and the city, and they work to keep our current employers here in town. And since I became a county executive, we've added thousands of jobs to St. Louis County, a lot of them working through the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership. We're working together on public safety. I think that's important. And since I became county executive, Mayor Jones and I have worked with a group called Teneo. They are the most respected and highest regarded public safety consulting group in the country. And they came and spent a year in the city of St. Louis and a year in St. Louis County reviewing our policies and procedures and working side by side with our command staff and patrol officers to make sure that we were doing as much as we could, working together and cooperating with each other and with the city of St. Louis. And since then, we've had some joint operations which have been pretty productive. And the chief of the city and the county and the command staff in the city and the county continue to stay in close contact.
And also, I guess one of the things that St. Louis and St. Louis County have a major problem with court thefts, carjacking, when it comes to Kia and Hyundai. So right now, I mean, I know that's most times you hear about what's been stolen in St. Louis. How bad is that in St. Louis County? The court thefts, carjacking.
Well, car thefts are a problem in the city and the county. They're a problem in our country, but we certainly have seen increased car thefts in our region over the past couple of years. Specifically around Kia and Hyundai, there's a TikTok video that's going around that unfortunately provides some instruction on how to steal these cars, and it's certainly not helpful. But we had a problem with car thefts before that video was going around, and our police in the county and the city and the region really are working cooperatively through license plate readers and cameras to find and track stolen cars and recover them. We have to be very careful with chasing stolen vehicles in St. Louis County. There are some tragic stories in the city and the county and our region surrounding car chases. So there's some very difficult policy space around recovering foreign cars, and we're trying to do it in the safest way possible and adding different layers of technology to help with that.
We talk about the carjacking, but one of the things that's that I hate to say this, but I have to say this. So far, we've been very fortunate to not have any mass killers, okay? But we have had a whole lot of young kids die because of firearms pistols being found. Most recently, a young kid found a pistol while he was at his father at an auto zone in the city, and he got home between the seats and killed himself. I mean, and now I know for a fact, okay, that the liberation of guns in the state of Missouri, which you don't need any kind of permit, and then that was a law that was passed by the state legislature. How did that come about? Were you just hit it in that place?
Well, I've talked to Mayor Tashara Jones about this, and she's been very outspoken on this issue too. We know there are too many guns readily available in St. Louis County, and that is definitely a part of the gun violence that we're dealing with today. We would be a lot better off if we had different gun laws in Missouri that made it a little bit harder for people who had mental illness and people who had criminal convictions to obtain guns. And I wish we had a pathway to change some of this. St. Louis County, St. Louis City, Jackson County, the city of Kansas City are currently in litigation with the state of Missouri over a bill they passed 2 years ago, which made it illegal for local law enforcement to cooperate with federal law enforcement agents when they're trying to enforce any federal gun law. And it was really a good example of a terrible law that was made that was passed to make it very difficult to arrest and prosecute anyone who was participating in a federal gun crime. We don't believe this law is constitutional, and that's why we're involved in litigation to overturn it.
You know, Dr. Page, another thing that well, to me personally, that makes no sense. And our legislator doesn't seem to right now to be controlled by the rural community, and it does not seem to be them against Kansas City and St. Louis. Is that just my imagination? How do you look at that?
Well, since the beginning of our state, there's always been, a different approach to solving problems between the rural areas and the urban areas. In urban areas, we have very unique problems that are driven in a large part by our density. But as the legislature is currently made up, we do see an emphasis on issues that are important to rural areas. We would like to be in a place where the legislature would also consider passing legislation that was important to urban areas, but we don't seem to be in that place right now. But we have a new speaker of the Missouri House of Representatives coming in who's from St. Louis County, and I'm optimistic that St. Louis County will see some legislation that is good for our region and our residents.
You know, another thing that's been a statewide problem, let's say Missouri, for many years, okay, I'm the founder and CEO of the Missouri Chamber of Commerce, and one of the things that the black organization have been trying to do, also not just the black organization, the League of Women Voters, a lot of nonprofit organizations that involve people of color, is trying to get the state to make some jobs available, get some laws passed that will allow us to kind of track how the money is being spent in the black community by the state and also by the local, like the county executive, the county council. And what are your thoughts about something like that?
Well, we have a portal. We have a place on our county webpage where you can go and look in great detail of all the expenditures of county government, and not just the routine expenditures of our day-to-day business, but you can also see the CARES Act funds and the American Rescue Plan funds, see what it's been spent on, even down to the individual contract.
And I guess one of the things, when we first met a couple weeks ago, that we had talked about something I wasn't aware of, okay, as I made you aware of the chamber, because we're on a project down in Haytown, Missouri, that's moving forward with affordable housing, IT technology down there, which includes cell phone towers. And I asked you to work with the Chamber of Commerce, here in the St. Louis area. And you had agreed then, and I know you're busy right now, okay, but after the next time, there was a possibility of us sitting down and having, a discussion of how we can, improve our opportunity for back opportunity for with the county.
Well, I'd be glad to sit down with you and talk more. We'll certainly get our schedules together, and I'm sure I can find the time.
And I think right now, one of the things with the economy being after the pandemic, a lot of businesses took a lot of hits, okay? But no doubt about it, black business took the hardest hit, and especially, most of them have brick and mortar stores. Those are gone nowadays. And I'd like to sit down with you and figure out some ways how we can, interface with you, and especially come to the 5G technology and broadband. That's something that right now that's needed more so than ever before. And I know there are pockets in St. Louis County that doesn't have, the broadband that they need. Am I right?
Yeah, we have a serious digital divide in St. Louis County. We know that 11% of our residents don't have access to high-speed internet, and a lot of those folks live in North St. Louis County.
Yeah, and also, Dr. Page, recently the Little Chamber of Commerce has created we call our education committee, and in that committee we put together we have some meetings about how to start working with the young black kids, while they're in high school. And I'd like to bring that to the table for you because right now we got two churches right now with Pastor River House, and before the meeting we have this coming Tuesday, and how we can kind of work together in dealing with some of the issues right now in the schools. Now I would not like to be a teacher at all in no circumstances. Okay, and I feel sorry for the kids that's in school. So we want to work the program. Try and get to the kids early on. Man, that'd be one thing that's on the table for you also.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, and St. Louis County has a lot of youth programming, but we want to make sure that we have the right relationships in the community, and definitely want to hear your ideas.
Yeah, well, right now, I know that the county executive doesn't control that. They have school boards and all over the county, different areas, and they kind of dictate, what the rules are, for the schools. And I know right now we are aware of recently of a young kid being body slammed, and really, some Dr. Page. Transparency, since we now have this technology available, it may got a cell phone. Someplace when you do stuff, it's not in secret anymore. What are your thoughts on getting more transparent? I know right now there's lawsuits against the city on how they can try and get information up under the sunshine law. What are your thoughts about more transparency? How can we improve that in the county?
Well, in county government, we have more transparency than in the history of the county.
Yes, you do.
I took over. We have a transparency portal where you can look and see what we spend money on in real time. As soon as the bill goes out, it's recorded on the webpage, and anybody that wants to can look at it. We get a lot of requests for open records in St. Louis County. We've had 5,000 individual requests for records, 5,000 since I took office. We have 5,000, and I haven't been in office for 5,000 days. So several times a day we get requests for documents, which may be a few pages or maybe hundreds of pages. And for the first time in the history of the county, I hired an attorney who was specifically responsible for sorting through these requests. And we do our best. We do our best to fill them within 3 days, or explain to people why it might take a few extra days. But in governments all over our country, not just St. Louis County, the request for records has exploded, and we're working really hard to keep up with the expectations of people who live in the community and just want to see what we're doing, and members of the media who want to see what we're doing. This is a $1 billion company with 3,800 employees, and it's a big operation. But it's different than other $1 billion companies out in the world, because government has an expectation that they will do everything under an enormous amount of public scrutiny and public conversation, where a whole lot of people will be reviewing the decisions you make, will be going through the records of the decisions you make, and will be offering their opinions. And because this is funded by the public, it's important that we do that we provide information, and that we let as many people as possible, comment about our decisions and participate in our.
One of the things, okay, I would be remiss, like I mentioned, I need to watch you on the Donnybrook this past week, and your relationship with the county council, as far as the black community, the black members, how has that been? Well, to me, I know that trying to deal with the black, with the county council as a whole is not something that's ideally made in heaven sometimes. But how you get along with the members that are black on the council?
Well, I think first of all, I've got great relationships in North County and throughout the region and in the black community with a lot of elected officials and a lot of our clergy and a lot of our business organizations. On the county council, we had some leftover hard feelings from the election 2 years ago, and really, if you watch the county council, the campaign never really stopped from 2 years ago. We pretty much stayed in campaign mode in county government for the past 2 years, up until the August primary this year. And after the August primary, it appears that things have smoothed over quite a bit, and everybody seems to be working towards goals rather than living in, the previous campaign. But 2 years ago, there were two council members who supported other candidates for county executive, and I think that kind of carried on, into after the election. We did have a lot of challenges with the pandemic. There was a lot of controversy in the community about, and in our country really, about whether or not COVID was real, whether or not vaccines were a good idea, whether or not masks were a good idea, or following the pandemic task force recommendations was a good idea. And that spilled out into the county council meetings, and the county council was overrun with dozens of very strong emotional appeals that vaccines were terrible, that they were hurting people, and masks were terrible, and really extreme positions dominated the county council for a year and a half, and I think it wore down our council members and created a lot of tension between what was happening in our public health department and what was happening in the council meetings. That did not help relationships between council members at all, and some of that spilled over into the relationship with me.
One of the things right now, I'm from the school, I don't call them on the things, we don't let that person in. But right now, we have a Democrat that the Republican Party chose to run against you. How does that make you feel?
Well, when I run for office, and I've been on the ballot a lot in the past 20 years, from the Creve Coeur County Council to, state representative and St. Louis County Council and this office. And I really don't, it's really not reasonable for me to expect to run unopposed. Having said that, I'm running against somebody who's run twice as a Democrat. We knew of what he stood for in his record, that he was really a Republican running as a Democrat. So at least now, he's telling us who he really is. But the voters in St. Louis County will have a chance to evaluate his ideas. Most importantly, when you have someone who's currently doing a job in elected office, the election is first going to be about whether or not they're doing a good job. And I'll be evaluated on how I've carried St. Louis County through some very difficult times. We mentioned cleaning up after Stinger, the previous county executive went to jail, and rebuilding county government, guiding us through the civil rights conversation around policing, and then of course guiding us through COVID, and working with the public health community. And my opponent has a different opinion than I do on a whole lot of that stuff. But I'll be weighed on that. Not only do most residents in the county believe that I made good decisions with the information I had at the moment, there will be some Monday morning quarterbacking of we should have done this or that based on information we have today. But we don't have that luxury in the moment. And there'll be folks who have to decide, even though I don't always agree with them, am I doing the best I can to listen to everybody and then make a decision and let everybody know what that decision is? Am I communicating those decisions clearly? And I try to do that. I have a press conference at least once a week, and to let people know what's going on in the county and what we're doing.
And especially for the newsletter, once a week also, what's that with the place this week also.
Yeah, we I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
I see you put out the newsletter once a week also about
the newsletter. Yeah, so we do have a newsletter. The newsletter, well, first of all, we post something on social media every day about what we're doing in the community on Facebook and Twitter. And I'm pretty active. I'm somewhere in the community, usually several places every day. The campaign publishes a newsletter which essentially summarizes all of the activity that we've done that week. Some of that, a lot of that's taken from a summary of the social media or other events that have happened during the week, and scattering in a few events that we're doing on the campaign.
Okay, Dr. Payne, how many black do you have on your staff, in your office in the county council?
Well, gosh, I don't know. St. Louis County is 28% African American. I'm confident that the people that I appoint is representative of that. But off the top of my head, I wasn't prepared for that question. I can't give you a number, but I'm quite sure that it's representative of the county and the community as a whole. I'm sure of that.
Something I know that this is not something that you control personally, okay? But most recently, this has been going on for several years, okay? That when it comes to St. Louis County is what's called like a Democratic stronghold, per se. And I guess, and to bear it out, we find it now that there's a problem recruiting election judges to be on election day. I mean, so what are your thoughts on something? I know it's something that that Democrats gonna be there. They got judges on the Democratic side, but how is that? How would that balance the election out? Did not think it passed.
Well, I think the Board of Elections will find election judges. They always put out this request every year. And they'll probably be louder and more assertive with their request if we get closer to the election and they don't have enough Republican elected judges for North County. And that's the story I read, and that's what I heard about it, that they were looking for people who would work as election judges in North County. Over the years, North County has become a region that more and more supports candidates on the Democratic side of the aisle. But I think the election board will find enough people, but they'll continue to look. I do believe all of our polling places will be open, and if anyone is able to work as an election judge, either a Democrat or a Republican election judge, then it's a really rewarding experience. It's an important part of our community to make sure our elections are fair, and all you have to do is contact the Board of Elections either online or by phone, and they'll find out.
I know, I've been around the politics, I can count these campaigns over the years, and I find that on election day, that the election judges who are an important part of your community, most times, when I go vote, people know me at the polls. That's where you go there. But that is an important part of our system that sometimes they get overlooked. They don't get credit like that. I know that's but again, another thing I can say that we just been joined by Chuck DeVoe, our CEO of the Pennsylvania Congress, and Chuck, we talked to Dr. Sam Page, county executive in English County here. and in St. Louis City, in St. Louis, Missouri, we have St. Louis City government, even you have St. Louis County government, and he's the equivalent of being the mayor. Am I right, Dr. Page? No, what the St. Louis would be a mayor, but the county executive that was different from the government, and he oversees that part of our government. And
well,
Dr. Page has a go ahead.
Yeah, certainly the parallel to mayor or other chief executive would be similar. County executive is the head of the executive branch of St. Louis County government, and basically, my administration is responsible for the day-to-day operation of all the county departments and agencies.
Well, Chuck, say hello to Dr. Page, and he's also a doctor also by profession. That's why I'm calling him Dr. Page, not Mr. Page, the county executive. And Chuck DeVoe is our CEO of the National Chamber of Commerce, and Chuck is recently got that position, and he's done a lot of things to bring black businesses and black business owners into corporate America now. And I know we have a lot of corporations here in St. Louis County that we're going to be working forward here. So we ask your support as we do as we move forward in the future.
Well, good afternoon, and what a pleasure to meet you, Dr. Page. My name is Charles DeVoe. I go by Chuck, and I live in Rockville, Maryland, but it's a suburb of the Washington, D.C. area. And we have a similar structure in Rockville, which is it's a township, but it is part of Montgomery County. And almost everything in the area is managed and governed by the county executive and the county seats. So there's a number of smaller towns that are in the area, but it really comprises a significant economic base for the state of Maryland. So I have some degree of familiarity with what you're talking about, and I do know that it is dynamic and really different from a lot of the and our perspective that we're speaking from is probably commerce and business. So it's a little bit different. Like, for example, with here, the District of Columbia, which is both a city and a state in one. So we got a lot of different things going on. But what a pleasure, and always looking forward to how we can best support the agenda, the mission, and the strategies of our government leadership, but certainly in this case, the county. And I know you guys are full of challenges, and there's a lot going on, and that's part of the mission of the Missouri Black Chamber of Commerce is to economically empower and support. So maybe there's some great things you're doing that we would love to learn about. And, Ira, maybe there's some things that we need to work on as a collective to see how we can do a better job of communicating opportunities and supporting them within the seat of government.
Well, we're working. I think we're working pretty hard in St. Louis County to solicit minority-owned businesses to work in the county, to start a business in the county, to bring services to St. Louis County, and that's been a priority of my administration. And we've implemented a minority participation program for construction, and we're in the middle of a disparity study to see how that could be expanded to other services.
That's fantastic. And Ira, I know that's something that we want to do, and we've been doing it. So maybe there's a way we could piece together an actual program that is just dedicated to doing exactly that. Because we'd love to look at the procurement and and help you be an example of best practices on espousing the dynamics and the economic virtues and values of diversity, equity, inclusion, and dynamic supplier development?
Well, we're working on that. We hope the disparity study will give us, some insight on what we've been doing. We just signed 2 contracts to build 2 new police stations under our new minority participation guidelines. Our minority participation goal was 40% for each project, and the final contract ended up to have about 49% minority participation on each.
Well, that's fantastic. And I was just in a conversation yesterday with some procurement professionals, and we were really looking at this kind of like an established definition of minority contracting, and the default was that it's really become diluted because there's so many different types of minorities. And our mission and focus is certainly on the African American perspective of that. And so when you say a big number like that, that's huge. 49% probably is award-winning, record-setting. It's fabulous.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and so that's where I would challenge you to say, well, how many of those are my businesses, to be honest? Not to say that it's good or bad or indifferent, but our job is to get as many in there, but to really measure it in our language, in our vocabulary. But congratulations on that, that's for sure. And so where do we go from here? Between you, Ira, and Dr. Page, how do you keep reaching new goals and conquering plateaus?
Well, Chuck, before you came on, Dr. Page and I had agreed. We met early part of the year and been with Dr. Wu, and we agreed to work then, with him to bring some service like the broadband, high-speed technology and stuff like that. But there's some pockets in St. Louis County that need to be done, and we have never kind of fit into that. So we will be meeting shortly, to figure out after this election is over. I don't want to bother right now. I want to be elected to get that done first. So I look forward to sitting down with Dr. Page, and get this to Dr. Page. We got that going for them, right, sir?
I look forward to sitting down with you. I think we could have a good conversation, and it would be nice to have your evaluation of what we're doing in our minority business outreach in St. Louis County.
Well, I look forward. We very much look forward to it. But when Dr. Page, I know you've given us almost an hour now of your time, and I know I know you're a busy man. I want to thank you for being a part of our program today. And anything you want to leave us with, sir?
Well, I just appreciate the relationships that we've developed over the past 3 years. We have a very diverse administration. We decided when I became a county executive in 2019 that everything that we do in St. Louis County will be done through, a lens of equity. And we look at DEI in everything we do, and in our administration, every policy that we implement, every appointment that we make. We've set records in the diversity of our administration, of our appointments, and we're very proud of our minority participation program. But we know we can always do better. That's why we've asked for another disparity study to check us, and that's why we really appreciate folks in the community that are giving us feedback.
Well, we look for a long relationship, and like I said, after the election, after you take a break, we'll be sitting down, and continue this conversation.
Look forward to it.
Pleasure to have met you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Page, and look forward to, and again, thank Doug also making all this take place also. Thank you very much for that.
And thanks for your partnership, and look forward to talking to you again.
Very sure. Good luck, sir. Life and safety, be safe. Okay?
Right, thank you.
Amen.
Okay.
Hey, Joe, my brother.
How you doing?
Man, I'm doing wonderful, and I am enjoying our transition into autumn, and that we actually having some seasons. We haven't
Amen.
we've been looking at all kinds of stuff. It goes from the heat being on to almost needing the air conditioning one day, and getting through this process. But boy, it's a lot to be thankful for.
Amen. Well, Chuck, out here, we have now officially got into fall. We were talking for the program that we got our first trees going and coming up sometime next week. But the temperature had kind of, it wasn't like a shock treatment. Okay, you have gradually, and as the leaves turn, and as the winds are blowing, we're now about to start raking leaves. And that's something that I definitely look forward to, tongue in cheek.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So what's going on in Missouri? I'm hearing things, I'm seeing things, and I know you are busy at the lab getting it all going. Same here from the national, and we're about to get it. We're about to tee off a new era, a new chapter.
Chuck, something that I'm very, very proud of. This coming Tuesday, Reverend Lyles and Reverend Brown and Reverend Thompson and another gentleman, Mr. Keith, who are the original Foundation Education Committee, will be having our first meeting. And I'll send you a copy of our position paper that we have put together. And as I spoke to you earlier, we understand that in the Black community, we got to get our young Blacks as soon as we possibly can, have that conversation before they can talk about business, understand what business is, how they can be a part of business, and not want to go to jail. And so we got some programs that we're working on now that we will hopefully use as a model for the national. And then I'll email you a copy of our position paper. So that's something I'm very proud of. And also, we just, I don't know, almost yesterday with a component of we have in Jefferson City, which is in mid Missouri. Then we're on a chamber there, and also with our HF process. Really, I've been kind of busy, okay, like you have. But I'm extra proud of what Reverend Lyles and I have put together, especially on this committee, Education Committee.
Well, I certainly would love to hear from some of those businesses that were part of that 49%. That's a big number, a huge number, and you can't just drop it like that. You know what I mean? Just like how many really were Black? How many were white women? How many were LBGT, and Hispanic, or whatever? Let's see what's really going on, because I don't hear those same kind of things.
But now, Chuck, one of the things...
And you're not telling me that you're jumping up and down with glory at the way the gentleman, the county executive, was speaking. He wasn't necessarily sticking his chest out either.
No, he wasn't.
I ain't talking about him like he's not here, but on the other hand, St. Louis has had its problems.
Oh, no. That's one of the things that...
you know what I'm saying?
Oh, no. We're known for that, okay? And,
yes, you are. World renowned.
World renowned, okay? And very much world renowned. And one of the things, okay, that I have been doing, okay, is position our chamber to have the right committee and the right people to deal with issues, okay? One committee we now bringing aboard is our banking committee. And you talked to Will Jordan a couple of weeks ago. He was a guest from EHOC. He went with the banks. And so right now, I will be getting that information. First of all, let me digress. We now have an inroads, okay, to the county executive's office, okay? getting a disparity study is something that it's like it's, people don't want to. They don't want to give us those type of studies. Okay, period. Okay, we've been telling the state level, and they did a study some years ago, by the way, but they did not fund the study. But they said, yeah, we'll do it. Okay, but did they do it? No. Okay. So to know that the study is taking place, okay, and we have some real numbers we can look at, we definitely will be having that conversation, like show and tell, so to speak, like that description.
All right. All right.
The way I look at that, okay.
Yeah.
The way I look at that.
There's a reason why I bring all this up.
Yes.
So that reason is that's what we're doing. That's what we're working on here. Is a national scorecard for the state of black business. And this would include corporate procurement as well as diversity hiring and to some degree workforce environment, and things that are hard to measure, like what kind of advertising do they run, and is it favorable, is it inviting, or might some consider it to be exploited? Then on the other hand, we would do the same thing with governments, federal, state, county, city.
Right.
We just this thing has been kind of floating around, and there's nobody really measuring the data of it. We do a lot of talking. A lot of these companies say, "Oh, we do great. We're the #1 company for friendly diversification and all that." And then you look at it and say, "Well, wait a minute. Everybody's white. The gay people are white. The hub zone people are white. The women are white. So don't wait a minute. We can't give you a pass on that. They might qualify as minorities. You know what I mean? Yeah, technically they're minorities. So what you're saying is true, but don't have us trying to drink that Kool-Aid."
Now, check me into this to you, okay? One of the things that I did when I retired from the city of St. Louis, I was over compliance, for the cable industry, communication industry in St. Louis. And I designed programs, okay, that I got reports on a regular basis, and that became one of the cornerstones of the industry in cable TV in those days, which led to the fight, okay, to deregulate cable, by the way, was because of the work I did back then. So right now, this is definitely right up my alley, okay, that we got some numbers I can look at here and break them down and put them in categories here and see exactly. And one of the problems we had with minorities in those days, the city was that the white female was getting the jobs here, because we said when we had what we did in the city, we had 5% to 10% for women. Then there was a 25 that was for men, black businesses. To separate the two of them, that goes back a long time. But we had to separate those. So I'm highly excited to look into those types of numbers. Just take my word for it, okay? But we have reached out to let us look at those numbers, and that's what we'll be looking at. And plus, that means there are new membership for the Missouri Chamber of Commerce that comes with that also. We definitely have a best interest in finding out more about those numbers.
All right. Well, let's do it. We're looking forward to it.
Yes, so that's just some of the things that are keeping us busy. One thing I'd like to welcome our chairman, Larry Ira, to our state of Missouri. He's in Kansas City for a football game. I think tomorrow with the Buffalo Bills, which they will lose, by the way, to Kansas City Chiefs. We got to go fast home.
Hate to say this, gentlemen, but it's 5 till.
There you go.
To say, where's Scott?
Scott's right here.
Hey, we all on the job today, Chuck. We have a very lively show. I think Dr. Page, since I met him and working with some of his staff, they've been very forthcoming, okay, and many of their words. So right now we're gonna keep it going that way.
All right.
So that's why I said no, I'm excited about where this can go, and I like the idea that this constantly become a model. As we all know that Missouri has a very bad record because of racism, trying to get things done, and unfortunately we've been classified as one of the deadliest cities. Anything that's negative, okay, the Missouri comes in there someplace. The top, if it's good, we're at the bottom. If it's bad, we're at the top. So yes, I definitely understand, the record that I'm dealing with. Okay, the hand that I was dealt.
Mm-hmm.
But we're starting to make a difference right now around the state, and we're making a difference already in Hayti. That's down in the southern part of the state. We're making a difference in Kansas City, it's western part of the state, and now we're trying to make a difference here in the city of St. Louis. So we are very been active in doing those things. Thanks to your guys, by the way, also, Chuck. So right quickly in the next couple of minutes, what is going on the national level, right quick?
We're just that thing I was talking about right there. We're planning our rollout for early part of the year of the work that we're doing with the National Alliance for Black Business, and it is every organization that focuses or has any crosses the paths of Black business. We're collaborating with on these sorts of topics about what are the challenges and what do you need and what might be a solution. How do we go about helping you? And that's part of the top of the conversation is this adherence to guidelines or not, or even, and not saying anything about the St. Louis County, but, there's a lot of talk going on about who's doing what, and self measurement of patting themselves on the back, saying we did 49%. Well, if you did that, then you deserve a ticker tape parade. Especially in St. Louis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let's quantify that. If you do if you do accolades, then by all means, you go give them and serve them up and positively reinforce you to see, dare we say, can we hit 50? You know what I mean? Yeah. And because we might find of that 49%, maybe 5% were Black, or maybe 10%. And, the guide you're always looking to hit is what is the percentage of the population? Of those demographics, because we don't say the minority community is represented like that, because then you automatically go to the minority majority. Well, we're really taking care of our home. We're taking care of business.
Well, right now I can tell you in St. Louis County it's 20%. Okay, but having said that, we're going to look at the numbers, and see and let the truth be told.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Big amen to that one.
Yes, right now that's what we're doing, and I also check how they're going to continue on your leadership, and the chamber's taking shape, you constantly, getting new information coming in about for St. Louis area also, that we did not get direction how we can grow. And I thank you for that.
No, thank you, sir. We're just getting started.
We only just begun. That's personal song. We only just begun.
That's right. We're going to get it going.
Well,
thank you very much for another rousing round of What's Up with Chuck. And
well, now what's up with good luck, Chuck?
Yeah. So beware, be alert. Our chairman's got some ideas and plans for you. So he said he's going to be working with you. So we're looking forward to it.
What time will tell?
Absolutely, sir.
On that note, that's Chuck DeBow. That's Reverend Lyles. That's Scott Owens. Many of our folks. And we thank you for joining us. Good luck with the Missouri Chamber of Commerce.